Hey everybody, and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program RP-0. We are out on the launch pad today with a resupply for our moon base in what has turned into a very long string of nighttime launches. But we have high hopes for this one. This is a mission we have flown like 4 times already at this point, so it should be pretty textbook at this point. Of course, we are using a DN2BX. And our relative inclination with the moon is at a reasonable level, so let's just go ahead and get this show on the road. Throttle is set to full, SAS is on, ignition sequence start, turn down the headphones. Looks like a good light across the board. Let's get these clamps off and make our way to orbit. I will pick all of you up there. Now we're going to speed through most of this just because it's probably like the 9th or 10th time that we've done something very similar. We've seen this DN2BX go up a couple of dozen times. This thing is kind of becoming a primary mid-duty workhorse at this point, but it's good when you've got 4 engines that are pretty reliable. I actually don't think we've seen a failure on the RS-25 yet. Let's not jinx it, knock on wood, which makes me wonder if it's even recognized by test flight? I thought it was, but I could be wrong, because I don't remember it having a rated burn time, which would be the clearest indicator that test flight is handling its exceptions and whatnot. But leveling out here, and then we'll be coming up on booster set pretty shortly, right around now. There we go. I think that little wiggle there was me finally realizing the relative inclination was way off and I need to do some correcting. Not that we lost an engine or had some unequal fueling or something like that. But this supply module, I actually put crates on it, the KIS crates, thinking that we could use them for hauling more junk away from the station. Little did I realize at the time, and then promptly forgot about it, that we don't have any more junk really to clean off the station, nor do we have an engineer to clean it off with. So these crates are just kind of dead weight, and they're not actually in mounts, so they can't be ejected. They're bolted to the side on a mount point with a octagonal strut. So now that we're in the air, there's not a whole lot we can actually do about it, which is going to impact the mission quite a bit. Coming up here on course up, I just went ahead and burned the entire core stage instead of just shooting for a regular orbit, because we were actually in a pretty good position aim at the moon. We can go pretty much at our periapsis, and eventually we'll get some kind of encounter here, although Kerbal Space Program seems to be pretty undecided on what kind of encounter this is, although it should just sweep us all the way through the moon. It just doesn't. It can't decide if we have a good encounter or not. But that is a collision course encounter, which of course I will probably screw up. But we'll go ahead and warp around to the other side of the Earth, an hour or so, and yeah, should probably not forget to flip the on switch on these RL-10 upper stage engines, just to make sure that we can actually get going. I'll engine our engines a little close to the node, and then light up all 5. We will be deactivating 3 of them throughout the course of the burn in the goal of achieving some kind of accuracy with this lunar insertion burn. I think the burn itself is only like 2,200 meters per second, because we were able to effectively use our entire core stage, which is just a little overpowered for putting something of this tonnage into orbit. But I'm not going to complain. We will just have to go back and detonate that core stage later with the range safety officer. That might be a perfect job for Boris. There's exactly 1 button to hit, and someone has to turn the key first, and it results in something exploding. Interesting. We'll see how he feels about the job. There's a new theory floating around about long-term effects of microgravity on his eyes, but we'll get to that later. Anyway, we're coming up on the tail end of the burn, so I'm going to try very carefully to deactivate 2 RL-10s. It does result in quite a hearty kick. I really should action group that, I suppose. But we're going to watch our trajectory hold its way out. Yeah, it's a little too much. So we're going to just back this up on RCS just a little bit. And right now, it looks like we've got 1.1 kilometers per second left in our Hydrolox, our RL10 upper stage. That's not going to be the case. A lot of that is going to boil off on our way to the moon, as you can just watch that delta V number count itself down as we make our trip out. We'll just fast forward through time here and bring ourselves a little closer to the moon. But to preserve our battery, since we've got that core on our upper stage, that thing consumes a lot of power, that 1 meter core. So we need to angle ourselves in appropriately to get those solar panels into the air. And hey, look at this. We are super lucky. We are actually coming in at such an angle to where if we deflect properly and enough, we can make a single pass landing at the Rosalina Memorial station. So we're just going to set our target here so we can get our crosshairs on stuff and just try to kind of go for it, I guess. Now, the problem is that AJ10 stage takes a really, really, really long time to burn through its fuel. If you look at the Delta V window, it's something like 8 minutes and 45 seconds total runtime. So we're actually going to do a trick that we did the first time we landed one of these when we did not, well, when I did not pressurize the tank properly. And that is to fire the Astros 2 engines and the AJ-10 at the same time while refueling the lander itself off of that AJ-10 stage. That will help us kick the Delta V out in a reasonable amount of time, and while it will be kind of wasteful, I will certainly regret this decision a little later, but it seemed like a good idea at the time if we were going to try to make this landing window. Of course, firing the engines like this and doing it in this kind of time frame doesn't even get us to the deorbit mark. So both our Hydrolox upper stage and this AJ-10 stage will be drifting in orbit. We'll probably detonate one of them later. We might just leave this AJ-10 stage in orbit. It's got its own internal antenna. It's got solar panels, so it can stay powered. Really not a bad deal. All right, there's staging off of the AJ-10 stage, and we are now just on our Astros engines alone. Already 2.7 thrust-to-weight ratio here with those engines, so they do fairly quick work of adjusting our inclination once I kind of start ignoring the node and fly it by myself, and then burn it straight to retrograde. That puts us at a pretty good place to take us over the target. It's just a matter of getting the timing right. You'll notice that now that we've got all of our tanks unlocked, we're down to about 2,900 meters per second, which when you're trying to do a precise landing at the moon, even after being deorbited, is a little close to the margin. I would really like about 300 meters per second more, just for safety's sake. So this is our initial braking burn that will hopefully take us to just over the target. I was a little overzealous with it, though. Although it was a nice time to kind of eyeball these corrections and see if I can't get us to just be right over the target. It looks like our margins are going to be slim enough, though, to where I'm going to plot out a bunch of nodes instead of just doing this by eyeballs like I usually do. Which will help with the accuracy. It's just a little less fun for me. I don't know. I guess I'm masochistic like that. Either or. Anyway, so this trajectory will bring us down almost right on top of the base. So I'm actually going to correct high to aim a little past it. That'll give us a little more room to breathe as far as when we start our slowdown. And that there was the biggest bit of inefficiency of this entire mission. Yeah, because now I have to burn pretty much straight up to bring us, bring our apogee up and our trajectory past the base itself. So yeah, and then correct south because I guess I was trying to rush it a little bit and not paying quite as much attention as I should have been. But now it's time to plot out our actual descent node where we will arrest the rest of our horizontal velocity and try to bring ourselves right down on top of it. That's, I don't know, that's the big one, but we're down to 1.3 kilometers per second. right clear over the target. We've got about 2 minutes and 10 seconds of runtime, which this is the part where I started to get nervous, because that might not be enough considering our speed and our altitude, which takes into consideration how much time we're going to have to spend falling just under the force of gravity, and how much of that horizontal velocity needs to be taken out of consideration. So, plotting yet another node here is trying to localize our descent directly on top of the target, and it also gives me an idea of how much delta V we're going to need to displace and how long it is going to take us to do that. Yeah, so we're about 10 kilometers above the target, and we're down to about 500 meters per second. This is when things started to get a little stressful. We took 2 engines out of the equation. That prolongs our runtime to 1:27, although it decreases our thrust-to-weight ratio by half, obviously. And coming into render range, there's the big stutter there and the predictable drop in frame rate. And now it's just a matter of eyeballing it down. Overall telemetry was quite a bit off, and this does put us on the exact wrong side of the station that I wanted to land on, but we need to be a lot closer than a few hundred meters if we have any hope of hooking this thing up. And the real dream of being able to bring some fuel down to this to refuel our lander is all but gone. But with 200 meters per second left in the tank, it looks like I can get it just about close enough to the research center. If we could just zero out some of the speed and start to bring it down. We're going to switch over to real-time footage now. Well, now. Click. As this was a little bit more stressful than normal, and had I just gone with this landing approach, we would have been parking right on top of the rover, which is neat because that's what I selected as a target. However, it was entirely not my intention, even though I guess if I wanted to stay true to canon, that thing should be pretty much inoperable after Boris's last escapade with the thing. But we do want to be just a little bit closer. It's always just a little bit closer, a little bit closer. Had I been this far away, yet on the other side of the station, I would have been right next to one of those little docking hub port things that we built earlier, which is exactly where I wanted to park this stupid thing. It just didn't become a thing. 84 meters per second left in the tanks, accounting for 13 seconds of runtime. And basically, I'm just trying to use the thrusters and pulsing those engines to buy us just a little more time in the air, because we seem to be drifting just a little closer to the research center itself, which is exactly what I want to do. Not park on top of the rover, but yet close enough to run a pipe. That's really that's the big problem. But I'm going to turn you over to old me as we try to set this thing down. And there's a solid touchdown. And I'm pretty sure we can feed it through this port over here. Thank goodness. If not, I don't know what we're going to do, because we don't have an on-staff engineer anymore. So we're going to go ahead and get this thing hooked up. Unfortunately, we did not bring down nearly as much fuel as I'd hoped. Really, fumes. Fumes is what we brought down. So we may, in fact, need another run to get this thing, well, rather to get this crew any hope of coming home. So, crew hatch, empty. Where's our pilot? Crew hatch, empty. Ruh-roh. Put him in here. Yes, Alice Campbell, EVA, you've got some work to do. F5. Cannot quick save while Kerbals are on a ladder. Please do not explode things. We can't move any ports around or anything, so if it won't hook up as is, we're kinda... well, we're in a spot, is what we are. Alright, quick save, if you please. Quick saving. Just God help us, we're not going to let just some radic static discharge while hooking up plumbing take out this entire installation. Not like anything like that has ever actually happened before, or anything like that. Oh, please reach. Link? Yes! We are in business. Excellent. Not that it goes through a ladder or anything, but that part shouldn't really matter. They've got the life support they need, hopefully, to complete their mission. Maybe not the fuel, but we'll get Commander Campbell back inside where she is safe before we begin pumping dangerous, noxious liquids around, and see how well this whole thing bodes out for us. The answer is probably not very well. This needs a bunch more fuel. Adding those crates to the side of that thing really depreciated its deliverable fuel volumes. Interesting note, I guess. Word. Okay. I guess first thing. No. Want the tank, dang it. There we go. Oh, that thing is, it's almost full. That doesn't do us a lot of good. Hmm. Leave that open, and we'll try to parse these fumes out between two of these. It's going to be next to nothing. Yep. Next to nothing indeed. Alright, but the important part is life support supplies. That's why we're actually here. In. And just no episode would ever be complete without a long and sped up sequence of moving around resources from pod to pod. The ultimate goal was to empty out the supply module, although there's really no point. It doesn't really have any fuel to go anywhere. We can't dispose of it like our last ones. We're definitely going to need another resupply pod to come out here to not only refuel the lander, but to refuel the other supply module so that we can dispose of it properly. While we're here, we might as well see if there's any other science we can dump into the lab, but we'll tend to that after we're done pumping things around. Alright, well, there's all that. It certainly does look like this crew is going to be here for quite a while longer. Oh, look, they're almost full of science. Let's go ahead and transmit that stuff home. Alright, 609 data, though. I think we can review stored data. Let's move this stuff over first, because we're not going to get any credits for it. That's 44 data. That takes them up to 653. And that is 33 data. We should be able to handle that. 686. Excellent. What else we got? Oh, I think that is actually it. We can review data here, but I don't know if we've got anything. That we've already got. Biological sample. We'll just keep that and bring it home with us. Why not? 220 data. Nope, we'll keep that. EVA report, 220 data. We'll keep that. We're looking for something tiny. Keep that. What else we got? 220 data. Keep that. I think that's all we actually have. Oh, actually, come over here. I did review photographs. That's only 110 data. We'll totally keep that for later. We're going to keep one of those to send home, and we're going to run another through the lab. So, looks like we may, in fact, be here for a little while longer. Well, they've got plenty of life support. Let's see what we're looking at here. Oh yeah, they're good for 1 year, basically, year and 40 days, give or take, which is pretty awesome. And that is even including this full of life support. We're probably not going to launch it full. 498 science added. That's awesome. Oh, mobile processing lab has some oxygen into which we can pump oxygen. We should no other way out. Oh God. Good thing they're all connected, right? Anyway, yes, we are not going to take this thing up with full life support. I'm hoping we can get some weight savings by cutting it down. It's like 20 days fully topped off for 3 people. I figure at worst case scenario, we need like 7. So if we cut it in half, give them, maybe 10, that frees up a bunch of Delta V. Will hopefully maybe it means that we don't need quite as much fuel as I think we do to get into orbit, although we will see. The ascent portion is fully fueled, and technically that should be enough to hit a very low moon orbit. Wow, I'm losing it today. But we'll have to see what our rescue craft, what it can do, I guess. And we'll have to figure out a means of disposing of this thing. But all that's probably contingent on bringing more fuel. So we will shut down those avionics just cause and let the system run. I guess they've got a whole lot of stuff to research still, so keep on it. They're cranking it out at like double the rate now. We are 37.063 science per day. So good for them. Very exciting. Certainly. All right. Oh, that's going to do it for this episode, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out. I really do appreciate it. And I will see all of you in the next one. So until then, see you later.